You do it first, yeah.
3, 2, 1. Hi, welcome to Miracles Online podcast. This is the podcast about relationship, dating, marriage, and commitment. I'm so happy to be here to share all that with you. I'm Jeff, and this is.
I'm Kat.
And today's topic is what?
Today's topic is a topic that can be exciting, but vulnerable at the same time, Jeff, and that is how soon should you get intimate after meeting someone? Should you do it sooner or later? And I don't care if you're in your 20s or your 70s, and we're going to dive into the pros and the cons on sooner or later because there's so many variables. But this episode will hopefully give you some ideas and some meaning behind really looking at that most sacred sharing of being intimate. It's going to reflect a lot of things: timing, your values, your connection, your age, your experience, all of those things. So let's dive right into the pros of getting intimate right from the beginning.
From the beginning.
And
we're talking about right away, like, hi, nice to meet you. I like your profile. Let's hook up.
No, we're not talking about hookups. And only you can judge, is this quick? Because you'll know how much of a connection, did you spend a lot of time really diving deep into values and what's important to you on FaceTime or on the phone, or it said it before you met. And then maybe it was from other people's standards pretty quickly after that, but you'd already done a lot of heavy lifting, if you will, to discover who this person is and them you, because it really comes down to trust. So, so one of the pros is that you quickly discover physical compatibility.
Yes.
Okay. And attraction. So, hopefully, I really believe that you'll know in terms of, are you attracted to them past the online photo, but in a coffee date or on a FaceTime. But then it's that energy, that physical energy when you meet. Now, there's some pros and cons on that, but we're going to stick on the pros right now. So intimacy may accelerate your emotional bonding through what? Through being vulnerable, your vulnerability. What do you think about that, Jeff?
I think there's a lot of truth to that. I think because, number one, I'll say for my personal self that if you're dating and you're ready for a serious relationship, what happens is that you're feeling a balance of a void the other side. So there is that connection. Even though it's just physical intimacy, that's a part of it, right? The mentality is part of it. But I really do believe that.
So that can be a pro. That can be a pro by building connection.
It could be a pro. It depends on the maturity. That's really the key factor of it. If you're still mentally not there, and I'll give you an example what that would mean. If I'm looking at you and I'm thinking, she's very physically attractive. I would love to get to know her intimately, and I'm now satisfied. Then all of a sudden I don't feel lonely anymore. So therefore, did I lose interest or what happened here?
So, but if you're not lonely anymore, so you've satisfied that need of loneliness.
The human touch for that moment.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, for that moment.
Right.
Yes. So that can definitely, that can definitely be a pro. We're going to stick on the pros for just a minute longer here.
Well, what my point was being is that you need to be mentally matured in mindset set correctly for it to be a pro. Because if not, it could quickly flip on you to be on the other side. I thought we had great connection. All of a sudden, I'm not getting, any more calls. I got ghosted after that. What happened?
And I think that's where it comes down to, Jeff, is that trust is nobody can gauge how long, how many conversations, how many dates, how many moments, minutes, seconds, or years it takes for someone to feel trust. But whatever it is, if that trust is there, then that next step of physical connection can be definitely a pro in
Yes.
moving your connection to the next step.
That's
But
right.
if you're not quite sure,
Yeah.
then that's when you again need to listen to your gut feeling, your inner knower, your inner wisdom,
Mhm.
and don't ever let anyone. I know typically it's the male, stereotype is pushing, but sometimes it can be the female, and I've heard those stories as well. Follow your gut
Yes.
instinct in terms of how fast or slow that that part should move along or hold
Right.
off.
Right.
I think that's important. So another pro is for some people, it can remove the pressure and unrealistic expectations surrounding the first time.
Mm.
So I know that's got to be nerve wracking, right? That first time and the pressure of knowing when should the first time be.
Well, I would say this: if you're feeling anxious and you have that kind of challenge, then you don't know each other well enough.
Right.
Then I would say no. Don't go into the intimacy to try to replace the knowing of each other with that, because ultimately that could backfire big times because you're not mentally set. The relationship isn't having enough concrete support on the base of it.
To feel that trust. And I agree. And that's probably a neutral. It was listed, we've listed it under pros that could be,
Well,
it could remove the pressure of unrealistic expectations for that first time by having it. But I think the adjunct to that is if those other things are aligned.
that's right.
Right.
Like for us,
Yeah.
we had really good understanding of each other.
Oh,
long
in-depth.
before we
Yeah.
we even met.
Right.
Right.
So we're not going to share our details, but for some it might be very quick. It might not be quick.
It wasn't quick,
but
it was good.
But it was and still okay. So after the show, honey,
Well, I hope
almost
so.
going on 27 years.
Yeah.
So
We can't do it here on the camera, can we?
So before we move into the cons,
Yeah.
Jeff, of this topic, is there anything else that you think would be a positive or a pro or could assist in the relationship by moving quicker instead of waiting?
Let's really look at the understanding of why now is the time for intimacy. So you need to really understand that. Be very clear with your partner, your other, and both of you are on the same playing field, same level. And as long as you have that open communication, that will allow, I believe, the intimacy to be much richer and less volatile. There isn't going to be any hurt feelings like, I didn't expect that, or, oh, nobody wants to be judged. I know that.
Of course.
Okay. But if you're going into the first intimate situation with somebody and you're worried about being judged, then you don't know that person. That's immediately a red flag for you to say, hold off a second.
Right.
Maybe
so that safety,
right.
that safety connection needs to be there. That, as you can't say it enough, that trust, that safety element needs to exist before you share, your most intimate sharing that you could do with another human being.
Right.
You need to feel that. And I think, and again, whether you're 20 or 70 or 80, I don't think it has so much, it has a lot to do with, do you trust yourself? Do you trust the other person? With your feelings, with who you are, are you connected on some level?
It's I think a little bit deeper than even trust. Do you really understand each other?
Mm-hmm.
Right. That to me is a big part. Because to me, here's the key point about intimacy. We get older, we have a little bit better understanding and aptitude. You know what I mean? And with understanding that takes the vulnerability of the intimacy off a little bit easier. If you're younger, let's say we're in our early 20s, okay, and we find each other extremely attractive. We just can't keep our paws off each other, okay? And let's just say then the intimacy act creates now the beginning of a relationship. Then to be a pro to this, you need to honor that excitement and that connection that you two have. Don't sit there and go, oh, that was great. Now we have to work at a relationship. Oh, it wasn't that what we had when we first had that spark. So therefore you're not it.
Absolutely. And that's is in alignment with a point that I wanted to make here. And that is that strong chemistry sometimes can mask misalignment. So that strong chemistry is just what you talked about. So again, whether you're young or old and you're just like, oh God, he or she is so hot. And you've got this, exaggerated chemistry. Again, that could mask a misalignment in the connection, in the trust, in the knowing the other person. And you set yourself up for disappointment. And then you're wondering why he or she didn't call. Was it just a one-time thing? And it was just all physical. We're physical animals, physical human beings. We're wired to be connected and to connect with other human beings, sexually as well as many other ways. So, that's all natural. But we can't let, like you said, the overstimulation of chemistry overshadow doing the work of really knowing who that other person is. So we don't set ourselves up for what would appear to be rejection or ghosting or what have you.
And I'll say this from a guy's point of view, if we got, this opportunity and we had intimacy, and all of a sudden the next time as a guy want to connect again, you're refusing, then that makes me wonder what happened. Right. And it's not necessarily that, we weren't compatible. But why would a lovely opportunity and situation becoming intimacy becomes a one-time deal, and I get no explanation? And that part really comes from a pro situation. Hey, I found somebody who's into me equally. And with it being equally, I thought it was equally enthusiastic, equally excited, equally physically enjoyable. Because let's be honest about sex. Sex is very fun, enjoyable, enlightenment, as well as connect. There's a bunch of little components.
Spiritual. And that's a point that I want to make, that some may experience in the case where, like, let's say everything was hot and heavy, and then there's a pullback. That very well could be my next point, which is that the other person may experience an inner conflict if they, I'm not going to say begrudgingly, but they went along in the heat of the moment and experienced intimacy, but there was really personal or spiritual beliefs that didn't align with intimacy that soon, before marriage, that soon, whatever, your belief systems are, that could be a reason as well that you get that, that the other person gets that pullback after succumbing to, hot and heavy. Well,
intimacy to me, almost like it's like a gentleman's handshake. Yes, I'm going to be in a relationship with you. So if somebody does that to you, and you're going great, and then they ghost you, you almost feel betrayed, or something went bad, whatever that may be. I don't quite know, but I do know one thing, that the disappointment that you would feel because of the intimacy happened, and then it didn't keep up that level, you immediately start to think that something went south, something didn't happen correctly, and that's defeating what was great. Now, for girls, sometimes I think there is a
women. We'll go
women,
for women.
okay, for females, women, intimacy, sex is used to control empowerment. Situation of, I'm in control. I like it, and I decide that was it. That's done.
It can be.
Well, I've seen that happen, and I've talked to enough ladies in the world that they said sometimes that they control that situation by using that as a controlling factor.
I mean, we're not in the 50s anymore, so
no, but everybody is taught differently. Everybody understands intimacy differently, especially if you have situations where you grew up in an environment that did not teach you correctly
Like
about
you did.
intimacy.
Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Which part of it?
The whole male machismo thing,
well,
growing up Asian.
Well, I mentioned that in a previous podcast. Being Chinese, of course, you have a history. We're talking about thousands of years of being very, machismo, very, macho in sense of women took second place, walk behind you, and all those things. And if you have that mindset or that kind of conditioning or that kind of teaching since you were a kid, then of course it's going to be extremely hard to balance yourself. You're going to have to do some work to figure out how to let that go. You can't have intimacy in a balanced relationship that is going to enrich and thrive as you nurture and develop it. It won't happen because you're not prepared. You have the wrong rules for this. So understand that. Same thing with, let's say, a female that has a martyr. I'll just take care of it. I'll just do it. He loves me. That's why he abuses me. Whatever the negative thing that goes on after intimacy is very, very volatile if it's done incorrectly. And the relationship will suffer and will probably cease to exist shortly after that. And I remember hearing a girl, a female, a lady, a woman that told me this. He goes, "Yeah, me and my boyfriend fight like cats and dogs, and he beats the crap out of me, but then we make love like animals." And I'm thinking, how absurd and just distorted.
That's dysfunctional.
Yeah, the point of view is about what passion and love's about. So I definitely say, in regards to intimacy, the pro is way, way up here in sense of what you can get out of it. However, the cons is the little screw that's missing that could cause your whole thing fall apart. So it could be this con that would destroy all this pro. And this is where you have to really understand the dynamic of yourself, the dynamic of each other.
And I think the communication, right? Because again, we're talking decades in terms of age that this could apply to. But I think communication, the big C, is key to everything, to be upfront and to express your values, your timing, what you're looking for in a relationship, and you can drive the pace, if you will,
right? The
timing of it. And I think no one gets their feelings hurt as long as you communicate and you're building towards knowing that person, learning who they are, building that trust and that connection, I think is key.
Yeah.
So let's move into the pros for waiting for intimacy. And this might sound archaic to some, but I know it's becoming more and more popular. And that is intimacy, waiting for intimacy until you get married. Let me finish my sentence there. Okay. Yeah. So the pros, well, we've talked about that. You're going to build an intimate relationship, a spiritual connection, if you will, because, let's face it, connecting, removing all of our clothes and getting intimate with another human being is a spiritual connection. Yes, it's physical, but when it's done through the process that we talked about, getting to know that person, getting to trust that person, the physical melds into the spiritual, and it's absolutely incredible. God made us for this connection. So, now I'm going to go ahead and flip on this pro side to say, well, some might say, well, I might not know if we're physically compatible. Maybe you were in a relationship and or a marriage previous, and there were issues with the compatibility, or maybe even the capability. Okay. Yeah. So how would you address that? I mean, I have some ideas, but what's your take on that?
Well,
Jeff?
I definitely think that the compatibility on sexuality, intimacy needs to be discussed before actually act upon it.
Mm.
Because I know you and I had sex talks. We didn't talk sex in sense of flirty
Yeah.
or dirty.
Yeah. It wasn't dirty.
It wasn't.
Dirty talk.
It wasn't that.
No.
It was literally talking about how
How do you-
freaky are you? How freaky am I? And are we going to do any of these things? Why do you want to do that? Why do you want to do this?
Yes, and he did
You
try
know.
to push the boundaries on a couple things, and I went, "Yeah, hell no."
Well, that's after we got married, isn't it? Oh. No, I mean, I'm not that bad of a freak.
No,
into that.
I'm not.
And
I'm
when I
not
say freak,
intimating that.
Yeah, well, the thing is this: it's about making love, and even though sex is fun, I've come to understand the ability and the greatness of focus on tantra sex, making love, connecting, opposed to hey, let me tie you up and let me go get the oil and the whipped cream. It's not saying that is not part of it.
Or could be.
It could be. It's
part of it.
It's
But let's talk a little bit about tantra, because many may not know the concept without going into a full lecture on tantra sex. But let's talk a little bit about the philosophy of that.
I
for people
really,
who might
I
not
don't
know.
think we have enough time just to brief that, and I'll explain to you why. Because I think you really have to be spiritually centered first to be able to go into the level of lovemaking that you and I have, got into the level of connection. And when I'm talking about connection in the sense that the physical aspect of the act becomes almost secondary.
Yeah.
And I've lost myself many times in the sense of I'm no longer a physical act, and it becomes
It
a
is.
spiritual,
That's a really good,
soulful,
spiritual,
moment.
soulful moment.
Yes.
That's a good way of describing it, Jeff. It absolutely is. It takes it to another.
And if you would have told me
level.
this as a kid, I wouldn't understand it. If you
Of
would have told
course
me this
not.
in my late teens and 20s and said, hey,
No.
you know what, slow down, don't do this, don't do that,
Yeah.
I would have said,
Yeah.
what, are you crazy? I'm
Yeah.
conquering the world, and these are the things that you learn as you mature. You start to grow and you start to get past. Some people get it right away. I mean, I've had friends that's married their high school sweethearts and they're together 50 years.
Yep.
And that's the only person they've been with, and they're very happy. They have a great family. And do I envy that? Yeah, somewhat, because that's so great to find somebody at such an early age that you can connect with, and then wait to develop each other, and then intimately grow together, and then become a family together. That's fantastic. I urge that. There's no question about it. But I don't urge, oh, he's hot or she's hot. Let's see if we get it on, and that's great. We can do it over and over and over and over, and eventually we just become a couple.
Because that'll wear off. And our bodies are so amazing. When we do have hot sex, as you put it, the body releases a hormone called oxytocin, and it just makes everything amazing. But along with that, it clouds our judgment on maybe missing some red flags of incompatibility. And, that's why, they say, well, the honeymoon,
it's over.
Is over. Yeah, the honeymoon's over. That oxytocin wore down.
Yeah.
And how many of us have been in relationships? I know I have. I'm sure Jeff has, where you look back and go, why didn't that red flag was there way back when? Why didn't I notice it then? Well, that oxytocin was running high. So that can be a benefit to waiting, whether it's waiting till marriage, for values, spiritual beliefs, etc. So we'll throw a mix. We'll throw a con in here. Okay, some people might say, well, especially when you're later in life, well, this is overkill. It's unnecessary, or it's rigid for me to wait till I get married.
Let's look at this situation here. Okay, let's take a scenario of over 50. I'm now a single mom, or I'm now a single dad because of widow or divorce or whatever it may be. Now I'm an empty nester, kids grown up, went to the universities and colleges, out of the house, got married, and I'm ready for someone. Are you ready for a relationship, or are you ready to just have fun? You got to identify that.
Yeah.
Because without it, then you're barking up a tree that you don't really know, or you're going down a path that you don't really understand.
And I think it comes back to, like we talked earlier, Jeff, is communication. If you're over 50, you need to have that honest, the beauty about maturity and what I call saging, not aging, is that you don't have to tippy toe around. You kind of know who you are
Right.
by that point, or you're on your road to that.
Yeah.
And you don't have really a lot of time to just, play games, if you will.
Right.
And you deserve to have someone who's, aligned with you, and they deserve to have someone who's aligned with them. And you only get that by honest communication, going, well, I really think this, and sharing your values, your beliefs, your principles. Really, I call these, this is the foundation. It's the bedrock, the foundation of where you're going to go past, the hot sex.
Right.
But again, that's a personal decision based on who you are, where you've been, what your life map has been, to decide, here's the pros, here's the cons, and here's the decision I'm going to make for intimacy.
Right.
Okay. Just with your eyes wide open.
Yeah.
That's all.
So being honest and upfront about, are you looking to have a incredible relationship to get married? Okay. Let's say if you're 50 and you're ready to get married and the other person isn't, then you need to know that, because the intimacy would disappoint somebody because of it.
Yeah.
So now here's the thing. And this is my recommendation for you ladies here. If you're
ladies. Okay.
If you're serious about being married and want to find someone that's significant other to be married, don't get intimate. Don't have sex until you get married. Because I'm going to tell you, that is key to not waste. Oh, well, we did it because we said we're going to do it. And then we were together and intimately for 3-4 months. And all of a sudden he started to get distant. He started to not pay the same attention. Oh, he's not the same guy. Maybe I don't want to marry him. So you're going to say, well, gee, then how would I know this won't happen after I get married? Then what? Then I'm going to be stuck with it. That's right. Because the key factor is if you're going to get married, it's for the lifetime. It is that. So you need to come very clear to yourself that when a woman tells you that they want a serious relationship and they're interested in marriage and you're pushing sex so you can get it, that's not right. Number one, that's not honoring the other person. Then it's not honoring the communication. So if you only want to, have sex, intimacy, and go out and date and so forth, you need to leave that person alone. But if that person's in perfect in line in sense of the things they're into, and they're asking you that, hey, I'm looking to get married, and you're saying to yourself, yes, this is the person I want to be married to, then make that commitment. What are you waiting on? You're 50 plus, right? This is the same. I was 34 when I did this. And now the same thing. I knew if we were just going to lollygag around for 6 months and so, driving around, date, then, one of us is going to get tired of that. So immediately I wasn't going to let somebody who was so great go because of my lack of effort, my lack of decision, or my fear of commitment. I wasn't going to let that happen to me.
And I think that's a good point, Jeff, that if someone truly adores you, truly wants you in their life, and whether it's the male or the female, they'll do anything and everything to make that work.
100%.
Right? And, I think maybe young people today think that, well, if they say no to the sex, that's the one thing that's going to pull them in. But again, if someone truly wants to be in your life, they're going to respect you for honoring your body. They're going to respect you for your strong values, whether it's just, your principal values, spiritual values, etc. And they will honor that and respect that, and stay with you. I guess there could be a case of very, very long engagements, but I've known of those also that they held out for, true intimacy until they got married. So it's a decision, it's a choice. There's no one size fits all. Again, whether you're 20 or 75, you have your own particular values your own particular experiences, your own particular feelings, desires, etc. But just go in with it with eyes wide open to know you don't have to be doing what everybody else is doing, because again, are they getting the results that they want? And if you keep doing the same thing over and over again and you're not getting the results that you want, and you get some of these things that we talked about, ghosting and the continual swiping, maybe it's time to do something different, because you're worth it, you're valuable, you're precious, you're a God particle, and God wants you to have love as much as you want to have love. It's waiting there for you. Be your most authentic, perfect, beautiful, perfectly imperfect. I call it wabi sabi, because nobody's perfect but God, but we're all perfectly imperfect in everything that we are, because we are of God. We might be in the world, but we're of God. And
yes, amen to
on
that.
timing, I guess this would be a good time for me to share a poem.
Okay, well, before we close out with the poem, I just want to make sure everybody knows that leave comments for us. We'd love to hear from you, as well as address some of your stories here on the podcast.
Especially this episode. Please share it with someone who has a need to know. We appreciate that.
Yeah, and show the book, right?
And Miracles Online. If you would like a GPS to online dating, the do's, the don'ts, the woods, the have-bees, the what do we call it? The negotiables and non-negotiables, because writing that profile is the most important thing to do to set yourself up for successful online dating.
Yeah. YU Publishing, YU Publishing. We have a bookstore there. Visit us there and get the book, as well as like and subscribe the podcast and share it. Especially when you got friends out there that is lonely and looking for love. Share it.
Single, divorced, widowed.
If you're having
older,
issues,
younger,
by all means, leave us a comment, or, let us know how we can help in future podcasts. So with that,
yes, we'd love to hear your stories and topics. We're coming up, with topics every week, but love to hear something maybe that we haven't talked about. Please let us know. We'd love to take a look at it and perhaps do an episode on something that concerns you with our topics. So this poem is called The Sacred Yes. It's a poem for honoring intimacy, which is what our topic has been today. So intimacy. We are not just skin and breath and bone. We are soul meeting soul in a temporary home. And when two bodies choose to intertwine, it's just not a spark, it's a moment divine. Some rush in, hearts racing like thunder. Some hold back, lost in thought and wonder. Is it too soon? Is it too late? Love has no stopwatch, only a gate that opens when trust takes root, when respect grows strong and intentions suit. Whether the first glance or a well-worn dance, intimacy thrives in a sacred chance. Not just in age or the roles we play, but in the silent truths that we dare to say. Do you see me? Do you hold me dear? Intimacy thrives in a sacred dance. Can I trust you to handle my fear, dear? For bodies are temples, tender and wise. They remember touch more than they realize. So enter gently or wait with a grace. There's no shame in choosing your pace. Religion may guide you, or your past may teach. Each heart has a rhythm, a voice to reach. So listen close to your soul's request and offer your yes when it's truly blessed. Because the act is not just what lovers do, it's a vow that whispers, I honor you.
Wow. And with that, I want to thank everyone here for tuning in this podcast. We will see you next time on Miracles Online. And I love my little bear.
Bye.